Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Welcome to the Gamey Daddy channel. Today we're going to be talking about something that is at the core of the Division 2 that puts a lot of mixed feelings in the community. Now, I like doing these discussion topics from time to time because for me, it's an open forum to be able to gather feedback of what players are thinking. So when I tell many people about the thoughts of players from time to time, they say, oh, you can't be serious. Many players are definitely not on this so-called platform that you're talking about where they feel like the Division 2 is a game worth playing. Well, let me just give one example about that. I'm going to hide the name of this subscriber of mine. They said, Gamey Daddy, I'm 52 years old and I've played video games a very long time. I've owned pretty much every console and played PC games for a few years too. I complain about this game as much as anyone, but it is without doubt my favorite franchise of all time. I've never played a game continually for such a long period of time. I'm not sure what secret ingredient this game has, but there's something that keeps me hooked. If they announce a Division 3 tomorrow, I'd be delighted. And then they caveated this whole statement by saying, as much as I'm looking forward to Cyberpunk 2077, I have a feeling that I won't be playing it in a year's time. Ladies and gentlemen, this is just one of many of these comments that I read from time to time. And like I've mentioned in other videos, there are people who feel differently about the game. But even for the people who feel on a more negative or disappointed side of the game, their disappointment is not necessarily that they want to bash the game. I mean, there are some that I truly believe are happy bashing the game. I think they are excited whenever something goes wrong in this game. You could see the joy in their spirits. Those are not the people I'm talking about. I'm talking about the people who feel a genuine sense of disappointment at the game not realizing its full potential. And the reason they feel that disappointment is because they would love for the game to be running at a potential that is acceptable to them, if you get what I mean. And why do we have these feelings? The feelings of people who will tell you that I will complain about this game, but I'm hooked to the game. And the people that will tell you that I complain about this game because I'm hooked to the game, but I won't play it because it doesn't meet my expectations. And then the people who are just hooked regardless. There are a few things that the Division 2 has that are not necessarily available on the market right now. Now, I could talk about the open world design. I could talk about the way the game has detail. I could talk about performance on PC. I know many console players will tell me I don't find anybody to play on PC on my consoles or Xbox or PlayStation 4. The dark zone is empty. Me, on the other hand, I'll come here on PC and I'll tell you I've not seen any empty stuff. In fact, on stream, I walked into the dark zone multiple days in a row, and out of nowhere, people started showing up in the dark zone, and it got crowded, and I left because I'm not a PvP person in the game. I walk out of the dark zone, I go in there to farm. So everywhere there are agents all over the place asking for help, and I think it's a whole different dynamic. I shouldn't judge the entire game nonetheless on just the PC platform. I guess I need to just make that distinction as well. And there are a whole lot of other things that you have. But I think there are a few things that players may think are minimal aspects of this game, but are actually exactly the things that keep them coming back. One of them is the way the game is centered around a community playthrough of the game. Now, what exactly do I mean? Now, for those of you who've played Division 1, you remember back in the day, if somebody wanted to boost you or power level you up, they will have you added to their team and you just stay in cover because all the enemies were stronger than you by far. In the Division 2, they made a slight modification to this, where if somebody invites you to their team, you get to scale up with the person to a specific level based on whatever gear you have or whatever world tier you are. Your gear will now become somewhat powerful to be able to take on the enemies that you're dealing with if you walked into that person's own session where enemies are stronger and all of that. This particular system doesn't seem to be a big deal, but when you top it up on top of the aspect where there's matchmaking, there are possibilities for agents to call for help, for people to just in the open world send a signal out there and somebody can come help them if they're lost or if they're in trouble or if they're in a bind. Maybe they failed a mission, they've gotten so far in and they don't want to go back and start from the beginning. These little things start to build, in my opinion, a game where you can't really find these systems in many other games. I mean, if you know of any, tell me the RPG looter shooter out there where if you die in a mission and maybe you have to start all over again, you can call for help and an agent out of nowhere can answer the call if they're on the same platform at the same time as you. This is, in my opinion, unheard of. I don't know. Maybe it's out there somewhere, But this is just a small tweak that the developers have made to then be able to open opportunities for people to be able to jump into one another's sessions and play and accomplish goals in the game. Then you also have a fluid matchmaking system. In fact, one of the reasons I can tell you a lot of people drop this game is because the development team will not add that matchmaking system to the full-blown raid. I can tell you that for sure, and that's one of the reasons I won't play Iron Horse. I don't care if they put gold in there. They can shove it somewhere. I don't know. I'm just one of those people that feels like Massive was able to make, in my opinion, for an RPG looter shooter, one of the best matchmaking systems out there. From the Division 1, what this game had that kept it afloat, even when Destiny was the more popular game, was we had a matchmaking system. Destiny 1 didn't have this, but the Division 1 had it, and then Destiny 2, I don't know if they thought about it or whatever, they were able to bring it into their own Destiny 2 system, but the Division is basically something that came with it. And this is at the nexus of why this game receives a lot of criticisms from a lot of the players who actually got it, because the development team advertised the game as being able to matchmake for all activities. This is why players are not so pleased with the entire raid. And there were different parties when the raid first came out. Some people said, well, raids are difficult. It would be nicer for you to go use an LFG app or something. But that's not the case. The case is this from the development team or the creative director. Somebody told me to not throw developers under the bus because this is a creative director decision, actually. It's from the upper echelon. So Julian Garrity, you're the creative director of the Division 2. You basically led the marketing team put out marketing material saying that activities could be done with matchmaking. And then when the raid came out, that was not necessarily the case. And then instead, you guys put a discovery mode in order for you guys to be able to kind of somewhat soften the blow that deals to the community, because that was clearly a misdirection, and that made a lot of players buy the game. But nonetheless, a lot of players have still said, if there's a discovery mode, that still allows for us to be able to, throw people up in here and then matchmake, and then we eventually all go in and maybe play the regular raid, even though that would be highly, highly challenging to try to do, because a lot of people that go into discovery don't have, they don't have any interest in actually, talking through the mechanics or whatever. That's one of the biggest downfalls of that. And so if you look at this one aspect, I think this has basically solidified one of the things that makes this game, appeal to a lot of people. Now, that's just in the community side. I haven't gone to the other specific things, which I think are the technological aspects and the way the game is actually structured from a perspective of a futuristic sci-fi government secret agent that has the, at their call, a lot of the different equipment that you have as in any game. Now, I don't know many games where it gives you something like a minigun, you get a flamethrower, you get a crossbow, you get a grenade launcher, you get a TAC-50 marksman rifle. In the same game, you have seeker mines, you have a turret, you have drones, you have healing skills, you have all these different weird shenanigans that are just not there in other games. I mean, you can literally take a skill in this game that puts a false image of yourself, of your agent, while enemies of all kinds, they eventually start to target that agent and giving you some room to breathe. In fact, I've seen this phenomenon happen before. Somebody put out the little, I can't remember what the name of the skill is. It's a skill that pops up, a fake agent there. And a bunch of drones were coming my way from the Black Tusk drone rushers. And as these drones reached in front of me, they stopped and diverted and went to that fake image, that holographic image. And I thought to myself, wow. Now, as much as we'll beat on the Division, this was a very, in my opinion, interesting discovery for the design. And so you think about the way these different unique systems interact with one another across the world. It's this weird weaving and the threading of all of these things put together. That's why you're basically hooked to this game, or mad that you're not hooked to this game. Because yes, with all these beautiful things at the core of the game, we have surrounding problems on the overarching aspects, like what the PvP should look like what what gear and what balancing should look like, what loot should look like. All of these little things that come in and say, okay, the core aspects of this game are fine when it comes to the way the game is designed, when it comes to the way the mechanics are implemented. But then some other things just don't appeal to many people on different levels. So if you're looking for the secret sauce, I think that's just some of them. I think there are others, but this video is just designed to put that conversation out there, because I feel like it's necessary that we start to highlight these things, because I know and I understand, there are people who are frustrated with the game. They'll talk to me too, which is crazy, and people that are happy with the game. And I'll chat with everybody, about how they feel about the game. But I guess it's just one of those games that jinx itself. It's a division. It literally has divided its community many times over. It's been doing it since the first game. And I don't know if this is, in my opinion, orchestrated in a sense. It feels like that, or just feels like the game is jinxed in a weird way. But let me stop now. I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Do you really think that there are aspects of this game that other games can do better in? And what other games are actually doing better when it comes to third person, when it comes to sci-fi, when it comes to realistic open world, community aspects, a lot of the, the different mechanics that this game has? Do you think that, if it wasn't for these aspects, the Division 2 will be irrelevant? Or do you think, nonetheless, no one in the industry is touching that right now, so the Division basically has to sit on that, that particular spot by itself, and all of that craziness? Anyways, I'll get out of your hair. Thank you so much for your time and audience. Hopefully we'll see you in another video. Peace.